Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to Open Mic here on my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea. I am, of course, your host. Thank you so much for being here today. Now, of course, every morning on the John Campea Show, we take some time for some live questions. But here in the afternoons on Open Mic, that's all we do. We just take live questions. Just a bunch of friends standing around a virtual water cooler and talking about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news and all that kind of stuff. Gonna go out to see the Meg tonight. I don't know. I was hearing some okay things about it. Now I'm hearing some pretty bad things about it. I don't know. I'm honestly, I do not know what to expect. I'm just going to go in, try to go in with as much of a clean slate as I possibly can, and we'll see if the movie's worth anything. All right. So let's get to the questions today, because a bunch of you have already sent in some questions. So we'll get things started with Ben Rayner. And Ben Rayner writes, didn't Kevin Feige say that Spider-Man was going to be very important to the MCU in Phase 4? That's why, in my opinion, makes sense Fury and Hill will be in Spider-Man 2. Oh yeah, but Kevin Feige says a lot of things. Kevin Feige speaks words all the time. And he may have plans for Spider-Man. I'm not suggesting Kevin Feige's not telling the truth, but the bottom line is it doesn't matter what Kevin Feige wants. And it doesn't matter what Kevin Feige's planned. They have no control. 100% of the control lies with Sony. It's going to be their decision to make. Now, I think that this arrangement with Sony and Marvel has been beneficial for both. I thought Homecoming was wonderful. And we've heard from a number of sources that Disney wanted to go one way with the movie, Sony wanted to go the other way, and they really collaborated and compromised, and the result was Homecoming. It was wonderful. I don't like the Iron Man Jr. stuff, no, but I loved Homecoming. And I think a lot of you guys liked Homecoming too. So we're seeing a lot of benefit for Sony and for Marvel. I think they should extend this deal. But regardless of what I think they should do, the reality is 100% of the control lies with Sony in this. It's really going to be Sony's decision as to what they want to do. If they want to take Spider-Man back into their universe, they get to do it. If they want to leave him in the MCU, they can do that too. So, yes, Feige's talked about how he's got plans for Spider-Man, but none of that means anything. I mean, if I'm going to come over to your house tomorrow night, and you can say, well, I've got plans for John coming over to my house tomorrow night. We're going to play Scrabble, and we're going to play some Risk, and we're going to play some Settlers of Catan. And that's great that you can make all those plans. But if I decide not to show up, it doesn't matter that you planned all that stuff, right? And that's kind of what the situation. I think Feige's got plans. But they can only actually be executed if Sony agrees to extend that deal. Some people live in a fantasy world like they think Marvel holds the cards here. They don't. I keep trying to tell you, Marvel wouldn't let that happen. It doesn't. They have no choice. There are people out there who actually think Marvel has a say. They don't. The only say Marvel has is if Marvel were to say, we don't want Spider-Man in our universe. Marvel can do that. They have that power. Marvel can say, we don't want Spider-Man in our MCU, and they can kick Spider-Man out. They can do that. But if Sony doesn't want to let Spider-Man go there, Marvel, nothing they can do. As my dad used to say, they don't have a pot to piss in. So that's something we got to keep in mind here. Now, again, I believe how this will work out is I believe Sony and Marvel will both realize this arrangement has been good for all of us. Let's extend this deal. And I believe that's what ultimately is going to happen. But as we saw today in that Variety article, nothing is certain. And don't think for a second just because we read that Kevin Feige says he's got plans that means anything, because it doesn't. It doesn't mean a thing. All that says is that Marvel would like to keep Spider-Man in there, but it doesn't speak anything to whether or not Sony has made any final decisions. And I don't believe Sony will make any decisions until we see what happens with Venom. Once Venom hits theaters and we have a chance to see what happens with Venom, then I believe Sony's going to start making some decisions. But until that happens, I think a lot's up in the air. All right, let's move on here. John K. writes, I think Sonyverse will be in the MCU, but in a Netflix way. Spidey will show up in Avengers movies while also having Solo, bracket Sony, adventures in New York City. Tony selling Avengers Tower in Spider-Man Homecoming set it up so that's possible. Oh, it's absolutely possible. It is absolutely possible. I mean, one of the frustrating things as a fan, but I get where Sony and Marvel were coming from. I understand. I'm just saying as a fan, it's frustrating. One of the frustrating things as a fan was how annoyingly ambiguous and vague both Kevin Feige and Sony were being about, are these universes connected? Remember that? It was like a different news story every day. One day, yep, they're connected. Next, no, they're not. Then they kind of say, well, kind of somewhere. I mean, it was so bloody vague. To this day, none of us really know what the connection is between the Sonyverse and the MCU. They were never really definitive about it. And so, but that's always left over the possibility. It's always left the door open as a possibility that we could see Sony engaging their own Sonyverse and the MCU and actually say they're connected. You can do that. And that's one of the possibilities of Sony extending the deal. Like Sony might say, okay, we'll sign another 7-film deal, but we're on the same world. And you guys will send over a Falcon or a Hawkeye or an Ant-Man to appear in a future Venom movie or to appear in a future Kraven movie or something like that. Like take one of the B-level characters. You know, when you're talking A-level characters, you're talking Iron Man, you're talking Thor, you're talking Captain America. I mean, that's your A-list right there, right? But probably add Black Panther to that list, Guardians of the Galaxy. But then you got a solid roster of B-list as well. Maybe Sony says, okay, we'll sign a new 7-film deal, but you have to allow us to use a couple of your B-listers in some of our characters' movies to show a connection. And that's possible. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but that's totally possible, John. Absolutely, it's possible. It is possible Sony just takes Spider-Man back and that's it. It's possible they extend the deal and keep going with it as is, where there's no involvement of the MCU in the Sonyverse. Or you could see them melding. It really all depends on what's important to Marvel and what's important to Sony. So we're going to have to wait and see. Let's see. John K. writes, heard that Cavill, having troubles renegotiating contract with Warner Brothers for more DC movies, wants A-list money, but they won't give it. You hear anything? Your take? I don't believe any of that's true. I really don't. I don't think there's... I don't buy any of that. I don't think any of that's really going on right now. Fact of the matter is, right now, I don't think Warner Brothers even knows what they want to do with Superman right now. I mean, that's the reality. So the notion of there being some back channel hard negotiations between Henry Cavill and Warner Brothers right now, when I don't even believe Warner Brothers knows what they want to do with Superman, seems kind of pointless. So I really don't believe those rumors. I don't believe that there's these negotiations because I really don't believe Warner Brothers knows right now what they want to do with the character. And until there's no point in trying to enter into negotiations with an actor to play the character when right now you're not even 100% sure what you want to do with that character. So get step one done first. Figure out what your future plans with Superman are. Once you've done that, then go lock in your actor. And if your actor doesn't want to get locked in, then you recast the actor and get somebody else. But come up first with what it is you want to do with the character. Character comes first. Actor comes second. Figure out what you want to do with the character, then you negotiate. Because really, what would Henry Cavill have to negotiate? We're negotiating a deal for what? I don't even know how many movies you want Superman to appear in. We don't know if any of them are going to be solo movies. We don't know if there are solo movies, how many solo movies are going to be. So until they get that figured out, it makes it problematic to believe the notion that there's some big negotiations going on between Henry Cavill and Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers doesn't even know what they want to do with Superman. So that's kind of where I'm at. Now, I am not claiming to have any insider knowledge here. All right, let's be clear. I'm not pretending that I have some back channel knowledge of this particular situation on this at the moment. I'm not claiming that at all. I'm just saying from all appearances and from everything we've seen, it just doesn't look like DC really has their future mapped out. I think they're taking a crawl, walk, run approach with a new direction. They're going to see how... Aquaman does. They're going to see how Shazam does. They're going to see how Wonder Woman does. I think at least we got to get Aquaman in a rearview mirror before Walter Hamada and his team really start to figure out what their overall direction is going to be. So when that happens, then we can start hearing about negotiations. Until then, I don't actually buy it. Nathan Oswald writes, I want to see Dominic Toretto riding a Dinobot in space and save family. I mean, somebody's got to put that YouTube video together. Some wizard with After Effects has got to be able to edit that together. Take Grimlock out of one of the Transformers movie, put Dominic Toretto out and put him in space and have him saying family. Somebody's got to make that video. It's going to be a 5 million view video like that. I guarantee it. All right. Next up, Brendan Torres writes, finally saw Legion Season 1 and loved it. Aubrey Plaza was phenomenal and stole the show. Could totally see her as the Joker if DC ever did Paradox. I don't know. I tend to try to resist the notion of, oh, I saw one actor play a character that's kind of like that one, so she should play that one too. Like, I usually kind of resist that sort of thing. But at the same time, Aubrey Plaza is brilliant in Season 1. She was fantastic in that. And I could see her doing anything she wants, whether it's Joker or anything else, depending on the story they want to tell. I loved Legion Season 1 also, but as somebody who loved Season 1, I ditched on Season 2. I thought Season 2 was a big step backwards. Could not get into Season 2. I gave it about 6 episodes, and I'm like, this is just painful. It's just boring, and I feel like it's work. I feel like watching a TV show should never feel like work. And I felt like it was work trying to get through Legion Season 2. And it's funny because Robert Meyer Burnett and I talked about it a little bit yesterday. And Robert really likes Season 2. And that's great. And I'm sure there's a lot of you guys who like Season 2. But as somebody who really appreciated Season 1, I just couldn't get on board with Season 2. It was really dry to me. But anyway, that's just me. I'm sure a lot of you guys loved it, though. Let's see. Michael Graining writes, could a film win the popular film category and best film? Or would winning the popular film take it out of consideration? Not sure how that works. Well, look, as of right now, there are no rules. Like, as of right now, in the Academy announcement, they even said, we don't even know what qualifies as a popular film right now. They have no rules figured out. They don't even have the eligibility guidelines set up yet for what constitutes a popular film. I am holding on to the hope that some common sense and rational thought and cooler heads will prevail, and that the Academy is going to pull this ridiculous joke of a new category they want to institute that, by the way, is only being looked at because Disney and ABC are putting the pressure on the Academy to include it because they're just looking for desperate ways to increase ratings. The Oscars are not about the television broadcast. The Oscars are about the Oscars, not the television broadcast of the Oscars. It's about I don't care. Now, don't get me wrong, I like to watch the ceremony, but if they suddenly said, we're not broadcasting the ceremony anymore, we're going to have the awards ceremony at this theater, but it's just going to be for the attendees, we're not going to televise them, and we'll announce the winners after. I'd be fine with that. That's fine. I like watching the Oscars, but I'm fine with that. The moment you start changing the Oscars to suit the broadcast, you've just killed it. You just killed it. And that's why the Hollywood Reporter, Variety, IndieWire, actors and celebrities, pundits like myself are just coming together in a rare show of unity, joining hands, singing Kumbaya, and saying, Oscars, stop this fuckery. This is stupid. Do not do this. You are killing it. Anyway, like, you might as well just rename the Oscars the MTV Movie Awards Junior. Just do that. Just rename the Oscars the MTV Movie Awards Junior. I swear to God, if they do this, then the Oscars are no more valuable than the stupid Golden Globes or the MTV Movie Awards or Bob and Eddie's 7-Eleven on the corner movie vote for the future awards. It doesn't matter. It just becomes useless. The moment the Oscars implement this, look, I'm not going to go hyperbolic here and say I'm going to give up on the Oscars, but oh my God, I'm tempted to say it. I mean, my own cooler head will prevail. I'll still watch the Oscars probably, but I'm so tempted to say, my God, if they do this, it's just losing everything that makes the Oscars special. and makes the Oscars far more legitimate than any other award out there. They introduce a most popular, best popular movie award. They've killed it. And I'll tell you what, it's really surprising to me because in the last couple of years, we've seen the Oscars make some really good choices and make some positive moves forward and doing some smart things. And I think getting lost in this discussion about the popular movie category is two other things that I think are quite good. The idea of keeping the show to 3 hours. I've been saying move some of the categories off the show to another day, but they're saying, no, let's keep all these categories on the same day. We'll just present them during the commercial breaks. I think that's great. Tightens up the show. Everybody still gets their Oscar. Love it. I love the idea of moving it from the end of February to the beginning of February. Love it. Good moves. Unfortunately, we don't get to talk about these good moves because of this overwhelmingly shadow of the poo cloud Galactus known as the best popular movie category that they're introducing. It's nonsense. There is nothing redeeming about this. It's a spit in the face to comic book movies and sci-fi movies and genre movies, and it undermines the legitimacy of the Oscars. It is a lose-lose. It is creating a kiddie table for genre movies. That's what this award is. It does not recognize excellence. It is not honoring achievement in film. It's creating a kiddie table in the corner for genre films, just as genre films are really starting to gain momentum and getting better and better and better and better, and now they want to create a kiddie table for it. Anyway, I'm going to resist the urge to rant all hour about this particular issue, but you can tell it really bothers me. I mean, first world problems, absolutely. But in our little sphere here of talking about movie stuff, it's something I believe worth getting upset about in this little sphere. I really do. And it does. In this little sphere of just movie fandom, it's something that upsets me. But anyway. Okay, let's see. Nathan Oswald writes, how crazy is it that the director of photography for Battlefield Earth went on to do Hell or High Water? I guess you got to start somewhere. It's not crazy at all. It's Battlefield Earth is a terrible movie, but that had nothing to do with the cinematography. You know, that's kind of like saying, oh my God, can you believe that the costume designer of Battlefield Earth went on to do the costume design of Alice in Wonderland? Well, no, one really didn't have anything to do with the other. Now, if you were talking director, if you're talking like the director of Battlefield Earth went on to direct Hell or High Water, that would be mind-blowing. Going from and developing from one of the absolute worst films in cinematic history to one of the best films of the past number of years, that would be something. But like the cinematographer, I mean, no, because that really didn't have anything to do with how crappy the movie was. So, yeah, honestly, Nathan, I really don't see anything odd in that myself personally, but hey, there you go. Ben Rayner writes, New York, truth to rumor that episode 9 is being split. Oh, any truth to the rumor. Oh, I don't believe that. At that point, it's not splitting it into two. That's just making two different movies. That's not splitting it into two. It's just, I mean, unless J.J. Abrams had a completed script and then said, oh, this script can't work as one movie, let's split it into two, then it's splitting. I have heard nothing of that. And since they've already started production on the new movie, it's a decision they would have made 6 months ago. It's not something they would do now. So I don't believe that at all. I mean, hey, anything's possible. I'm not saying it won't happen. I'm just saying at this point, I see nothing. I see no legitimate information to support the belief that they are going to split episode 9 into two films. In that case, it's just not splitting episode 9. It's just making episode 9 and episode 10. Believing they need an extra chapter to tell the story, then it's not really even splitting. It's just making episode 9 and making episode 10. But I have seen no reliable information that would support the notion that we should believe that they're doing that. So, again, that doesn't mean it's impossible that they're going to do it. I'm just saying that right now there is no credible information to support that assumption. There's no credible information. Maybe there could be later, but as of right now, there's none. Adamus95 writes, do you think critics are being a bit too harsh on the Meg? I mean, it's a movie about a giant shark. What are they expecting? Great show as always, dude. Well, I mean, here's the thing, Adamus, and I gotta admit, a bad movie's a bad movie, right? You don't have to be trying to make Shakespeare to make a good movie, right? 40-Year-Old Virgin is an excellent movie. It's a silly kind of coming of middle age. I love that saying, coming of middle age. It's a coming of middle age sex romp, fun light comedy, but it's brilliant and wonderful and excellent. Just because your movie isn't trying to be Shakespeare doesn't give you a free pass from being a stupid movie. If you don't make your lines fun, and if your action doesn't work, and if the characters aren't endearable, like if people don't attach themselves to the characters, and if all that kind of stuff fails, you don't get a free pass just because you go, well, we weren't trying to make an Oscar movie. That doesn't matter. You can still make a good movie. Now, I am not in the position to really judge whether or not I think the critics are being overly harsh on the Meg, because I haven't seen the Meg yet. Like, I've seen the Meg tonight. But just out of curiosity, the Meg, Rotten Tomatoes, let me see what it is right now. Right now, it's at 49%. I mean, basically speaking, that means half the critics like it and half of them don't. So I don't see how the critics are being overly harsh on it. But just because your concept is weird and silly, that doesn't give you a free pass to make a bad film. Lego is about plastic building blocks, but they made an excellent movie. 40-Year-Old Virgin's about a dude in the 40s who hasn't gotten laid yet, but they made an excellent movie. 22 Jump Street is one of the most ridiculous, but they made an excellent movie. You can be a lighter premise, like a giant monster shark movie, and still be good. You don't get a free pass for making something crappy. Take what it is you're trying to be, and now do it with excellence. You don't have to try to be Shakespeare. You can be trying to do this giant monster movie. Okay, so here's where you are. Now make that awesome. That's the job. It ain't easy. It's very hard, but that's the job. And if you knock it out of the park, you're going to get praised for it. If you botch it, you're going to get criticized for it. That's the business, right? So again, Adamus, it's hard for me to say because I haven't seen the movie yet. I'm going to go see it in a couple hours, and then I'll have a better sense. But right now, I wouldn't say that the critics are being overly harsh. Like I said, pretty much right now, it's split right down the middle, pretty much 50-50. It's 51-49 right now. So, I mean, take that for what it's worth at the moment, at any rate. Anyway, thanks a lot for the question, man. Yalpert writes, thoughts on Khabib versus Conor McGregor UFC 29. This has got to be the 23rd time I've been asked about this, which is totally fine. I love talking me some MMA. But as I've said before, Khabib is I don't know that Conor's own mother will be able to identify him after Khabib is done with him. Khabib is going to destroy him. There is nothing that has suggested me. And remember, I have been a big Conor McGregor fan. I hate his guts now. I was a big Conor McGregor fan. But even in a lot of fights, I picked him to win most of his fights, man. Even when he was the underdog and blah, 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 blah. But I didn't pick him to win the Jose Aldo fight, though. I thought Jose Aldo was going to beat him. I did. But I was cheering for Conor. That's the one time I picked against Conor. And obviously, I said that Floyd Mayweather was going to destroy him in the boxing match, and sure enough, he did. He just toyed with him for a bit till he took him out. But Khabib is the baddest man on the planet. I don't care whatever the official rankings say. Khabib is the number one, in my opinion, the number one pound-for-pound fighter in the world. I really believe that. I believe he would give Brock Lesnar nightmares, who weighs a good 100 pounds more than him. I believe Brock Lesnar would wake up, if he had a fight planned with Khabib, Brock Lesnar would wake up in the middle of the night screaming with nightmares of Khabib. Khabib is the baddest man on the planet, I believe. Now, Conor's got a puncher's chance, just like anybody in MMA. In MMA, anybody can beat anybody else on any given day with one lucky shot. And Conor McGregor has that chance. But Khabib's going to destroy him. That aside from the lucky punch, Khabib is going to destroy him. So that's my thoughts on that at any rate. Rodney Hurd writes, That's cool to hear about the Star Wars concert. Yeah, I had a great time at the Star Wars concert. And I think we're going to the Star Wars Empire Strikes Back concert on Saturday, so we're looking forward to that. I went to something like that, but it was for Lord of the Rings Fellowship of the Ring. Yeah, and Anne, my wife Anne, just went to another similar thing, also at the Hollywood Bowl, like a month or two ago. She went to Harry Potter in concert. And for those of you who didn't hear me talk about it before, what it is they play the movie on these giant screens at the Hollywood Bowl and other places around the country. But here in LA, they go to the Hollywood Bowl, they play Star Wars A New Hope on the giant screen, but they take out the music. And instead, they've got the Los Angeles Philharmonic on stage, and they play the music. They play the soundtrack along with, so you're actually hearing live music as the movie's playing. It's an awesome experience. Anne had a great time with that at the Harry Potter in concert. We did New Hope the other night. We're hoping to go see Empire Strikes Back on Saturday as well. So fingers crossed, but yeah, it's a really good experience. If you get a chance to do it in your town, definitely go to it. It's a lot of fun. Sebastian writes, Oscar helping Avengers 3/4/Black Panther and Disney directly. Avengers 3/Black Panther get a popularity nomination. January 18th, Avengers 3 re-releases as best seen large format. 3 more weeks promo. I'm sorry, Sebastian, you lost me. I'm not really following what it is you're trying to say. If you're saying that, one of the reasons Disney wants to push this is so that their films can get some Oscar buzz, even if it's for a fake award, right around the time they do some kind of re-release and leading into Avengers 4. Yeah, I mean, I could see that. Which is one of the reasons ABC, the company, the network that broadcasts the Oscars, who are owned by Disney, should not have any influence whatsoever on the Oscars. A studio should not be allowed to have that much influence on the Oscars just to position and prop their own films. It's terrible. It's terrible. Just should not be allowed to happen, man. And that's just another reason why. Ronnie Hurd writes, thoughts on the death and return of Superman story? It was what it was. I mean, look, it at the time, I still remember the first time I read the issue, The Death of Superman. And I read that issue when he dies. And it was shaking. And then they brought him back. And that is when comic books got broken. The death and return of Superman broke comic books. Because it took away any consequences from comic books. Comic books are still great. But it was the death and return of Superman that forever broke comic books. And took away the sense of any stakes and any risk and any consequences for any comic book hero moving forward. Because it doesn't matter if Colossus dies. It doesn't matter if Wolverine dies. It doesn't matter if this person dies or that person dies or what. It doesn't matter. They'll bring them back in 3 issues. Or at the most 6 months from now, they'll bring them back. And while the death of Superman was major news that got newspaper headlines, Superman dies in the comics. It was huge. But the return of Superman broke comic books. And it introduced something that the MCU now kind of hangs their hat on, which is nobody died. Fake death. Everything's fake death. Fake death, fake death, fake death. Everybody's come back. Everything you just saw in Avengers Infinity War, all fake deaths. They're all coming back. So in one way, it's a really memorable thing in comics. In another way, it's kind of the thing that broke comics in many ways. But anyway, let's see. Murray Reich writes, best shark movie besides Jaws series. I'd have to think about it. Off the top of my, I get a big kick out of Deep Blue Sea. The one where Samuel Jackson, like, I get a big kick out of that movie. Not many shark movies that I actually truly enjoy, but I will admit, as stupid as Deep Blue Sea is, I got a big kick out of it. I had fun with it. And I think LL Cool J's in that too. Anyway, I get entertained by that movie. So that, and who knows, maybe the Meg will be my new one. Let's see. Caleb Bradford writes, there's only one man who can defeat Thanos, and his name is Timmy from 7-Eleven. I'm not sure I get the reference. It's probably hilarious what you just said, and it just went right over my head. Sorry about that, Caleb. Let's see. Sebastian writes, Black Panther should be going for best and not most popular. I don't know. Look, I like you guys. You guys saw me review it. I love Black Panther. I thought the movie was great. And if the Academy Awards were being held today and there's 8 nominees, I think Black Panther gets a nomination. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of the best movies of the year are still to come. And I honestly don't see Black Panther getting a Best Picture nomination. I don't. I think it's great. I do. I love it. It's great. But I barely think it's in my top 5 right now for the year. I think it's barely in my top 5 of the year right now. And I'm sure there's going to be other films that kind of bump it down even lower. Again, that does not take away from how much I enjoy Black Panther. I think it's great. I might think it's better than Avengers Infinity War. I'm not sure about that. I might put Avengers Infinity War over a little bit, but it's close. It's real close. I might even have it above Infinity War. But I don't see either of them being Best Picture material. I don't. Not like Logan. Logan was absolutely Best Picture material. I don't know about, and again, that's just my opinion. Your opinion may be totally different, which is great. There may be many of you out there who think that Black Panther might be your favorite movie of the year, and that's awesome. But since you're asking me, I think going for a best, I mean, look, Disney will do a campaign for it, but I don't know that they're going to get it. I really don't. I mean, Black Panther is certainly not as good as Logan was, and Logan didn't get that Best Picture nomination. And that was just this year. That was just this past year. So it's going to be interesting. It will be interesting, but because there is a lot of support for Black Panther. There's a lot of support for it. But like I said, to me, if I'm an Academy member and the Academy Awards were like the Academy nominations had to be made tomorrow, maybe Black Panther gets one of the nomination spots. But I'm sure there's a lot of films coming this year. They're probably going to bump it out. So anyway, that's just where I'm at on it. Let's see. Rodney Hurd writes, since it's over, what are your thoughts on Jax Teller's entire story arc in Sons of Anarchy? Sons of Anarchy, Sam Crow Forever, Sons of Anarchy, Motorcycle Club, Redwood Original, for those of you wondering what Sam Crow stands for. I love Jack's storyline. And look, the show, some people did not like the way it ended. To me, it ended the way it had to end. There was no other way to end it. There really wasn't. Not without completely breaking all disbelief. The show ended the way it needed to end. And I'm not going to give away the ending, just in case any of you still want to watch Sam Crow, Sons of Anarchy. By the way, one of my top 3 all-time favorite shows. Jump on it, start watching it. But yeah, I thought the overall story of Jax Teller was great. And I'm all for the way it ended. Would I liked a different ending? Maybe, but at the same time, to me, it ended the way it had to end. So anyway, that's just kind of my thought on it. All right, Donaldo Martinez writes, just watched for the first time The Sopranos, loved it. R.I.P. James Gandolfini. Some people still to this day, you know, when you ask people about the greatest TV show of all time, there are only a couple of shows that really come up a lot. Quite often, you hear The Wire. The Wire is often brought up as maybe the greatest show of all time. But The Sopranos is another one that gets brought up a lot. Sopranos is one that gets brought up a lot. And really, like, when you look at shows like The Wire and Sopranos, when you watch those shows for the first time, like, when I just watched The Wire about a year ago. After being told for years by friends of mine to watch it. So I finally binged the whole thing. And it's when I watch it for the first time. Do you guys remember how I talk about The Godfather? I said, when you watch The Godfather for the first time, your head's going to explode because you're going to be like, oh my God, I can now so clearly see how 90% of all the movies I've ever loved have been influenced by The Godfather, right? When I watched The Wire for the first time, I went, oh my God, I can totally see how all of HBO shows have been built on the blueprints of The Wire. It may sound funny. Watch The Wire. I dare you to tell me you don't see the absolute blueprint to Game of Thrones. Watch The Wire, and you will completely see how it and the way they handle things and the way they do characters and all that kind of stuff is directly translated into Game of Thrones. Like, you can't watch The Godfather and not see how all of film has been influenced by it. You can't watch The Wire and not see how television has been influenced by it, particularly HBO shows. And you can pretty much, to a little bit of a lesser degree, you can say the same thing about The Sopranos. When you watch The Sopranos now for the first time, you will be overwhelmed by a sense of, wow, I can really see how that show that came afterwards was influenced by that. And I can see how that show was influenced by that. And I can see how The Sopranos paved the way for a show like A, B, and C to be made in the future because of The Sopranos. It's one of those types of shows. So I'm really glad you had a chance to watch that, man. And yeah, James Gandolfini, it was the role of a lifetime for him. Absolutely. All right. Recruz writes, John, a James Gunn directed Green Lantern movie or a James Gunn Superman movie. Personally, I'd like to see what he could do with Superman thoughts. It wouldn't matter. I wouldn't care. Just James Gunn with any comic book property, let him at it and go. Honestly, if I was Walter Hamada and my underlings came to me and said, "We've done it, sir. We've secured James Gunn. Now, my liege, which should we have him do? Green Lantern or Superman?" I honestly would just pull out a coin and flip it. Because it really wouldn't matter to me. Because he's going to do a great job on either one of them. It's like picking your favorite child. It just doesn't matter. Which one of these films do you really want to succeed? Well, I don't know. I want them both to succeed, so flip a coin. Honestly, he would do great with Superman. He would do great with Guardians of the Galaxy. He would do great with any property they had. Now let's see if he actually gets out of this deal with Disney. We'll have to find out. I'm sure we'll find out in the coming days. Darth Vader the Boss writes, first time sending in a super chat. Well, thanks so much for that, Darth Vader. My question is, who was the most hated character for you in Supernatural? For me, it would be Gordon Walker. For me, and I often got into debates with this. Do you remember? Oh, and I'm forgetting her name. Why am I forgetting her name? But it was the Knights of Hell, the first Night of Hell that they brought. Remember, it was that woman, and she took over Hell for a bit. And why am I forgetting her name? I'm freezing on her name. But oh my God, I hated that character. Like, hated her in the way the show wants you to hate her. Not hated her as in, oh my God, I don't even want to watch the show. No, it's like, oh, I hated that character. Hated that character. And they wanted you to hate the character. And it's like, oh my God, I hated that character. But that would probably stand out to me as my most hated character. If you want to go OG, the Yellow-Eyed Demon was, that was pretty nasty too. But yeah, I think that first Knights of Hell character, I think that's the one that would be for me. Let's see. Chris Warden writes, I just read The Rock's Jungle Cruise. You probably mean is coming out in October 2019, just 2 months before Jumanji 3 comes out. Do you think that is a but? You probably meant bit. Do you think that is a bit risky, having two similar themed films with the same actor released so close together? No, if anything, it'd probably be a little bit of momentum. It would probably give a little bit of momentum. I think they're different studios that are doing them. I could be wrong about that. But yeah, it could just be a momentum thing. Hey, you went out to see this fantasy adventure film with The Rock? You liked it? Good news. There's another fantasy adventure film with The Rock coming out in just about 8 or 9 weeks. You're welcome, America. So I think they're probably trying to play off that a bit. So I don't think it's a risk. I think it's, look, any release date is a risk. Any release date. Because you're going to put a movie in with other movies, and you're going to hope the time of the year is right for it. You're going to hope, the competition's not too similar or too different or whatever. And there's a whole lot of strategy, and there's always moving pieces on the board. Any release date is a risk. I think the idea that, hey, if we put it here, we could build momentum. People, advertising for Jumanji may help our Jungle Cruise. And then advertising for Jungle Cruise may help that Jumanji. So there could be a mutually beneficial situation there. It's hard to say, except to say that any release date is a risk. You can plop a movie on December 21st with all those other movies, that's a risk. You could put it where there's no movies in early January, but there's not a lot of people going to the movies in early January. So there's no competition, but not a lot of people going. So that's a risk. So anything can be a risk. This to me looks like it could be a play to build on momentum, but we'll have to wait and see. Maybe it'll pay off for them. Maybe it won't. We'll find out soon enough. Thanks a lot for the question, Chris. All right. Oh, and there's the big jump. Okay. Always the big jump. Okay, here we are. Recruz writes, John, what do you hate more in a movie? Forced humor or cringy dialogue? Also, I keep forgetting to say thanks at the end of these, so thanks. Well, thank you, Recruz. Honestly, I don't hate one over the other intrinsically. It depends on the movie. You know, if one movie has like really, really cringy dialogue and another movie has some pretty bad forced humor, I'll hate the cringy dialogue more. If I watch another movie that's got really bad forced humor and kind of cringy dialogue, then I'll hate the forced humor more. I don't think I dislike one more than the other just by nature. I think it really depends on which one is more offensive depending on the movie you're watching. It's like saying, John, what do you like more? Comedies or action films? Well, it depends on the comedy or action film. I don't intrinsically like one more than the other. It depends on which movie you're talking about. So I would kind of chalk that up to the same situation here. It really depends on the movie and the scenario. But I think it's fair to say, Recruz, none of us like forced humor and none of us like cringy dialogue when not used appropriately. So they're both pretty bad. All right. Royce Freeman writes, if they have Idris play the new Bond, would they have to change actors playing the supporting roles? Does changing ethnicity means it's a different character than Craig? I don't think it means you have to change anybody else. And I don't think it, look, it's like saying, is Pierce Brosnan's character different than the character that Roger Moore played? Is the character that Sean Connery played different from the character that Timothy Dalton played? Is the character that Daniel Craig is playing different from the character that Pierce Brosnan played? I mean, I don't know. Just Bond is Bond. That's just what it is. Bond is Bond. And I don't believe there's ever been a definitive statement of history that says this is the same character. These are different people inheriting the mantle of the character of James Bond. I mean, I don't know. Honestly, I don't think there's any problem. You just do the James Bond movie and, oh, there's Idris Elba. He is James Bond. You don't really have to, in my opinion at any rate, you don't have to do any more explaining other than that. You don't have to keep the ethnicities, nor do you have to change the ethnicities of any of the other characters. You don't have to explain a history. None of the other ones do, really. Other than like Daniel Craig saying, you were a boy growing up here. This is your, like, you know, that's a little bit different. But honestly, I don't think we need to overcomplicate it. I think no matter, look, let's say they get Tom Hiddleston to play Bond. Great. Is he the same Bond? Is he a different Bond? I don't really think it matters. He's James Bond. There you go. I think if they bring in Idris Elba to play Bond, is he that Bond? Is he just a different Bond? Are they saying he's changed race? It doesn't matter. He's James Bond. Now go. You know, that's kind of how I interpret it at any rate, and I don't think we need to complicate it anymore beyond that. That's just the way I see it, though. Maybe other people see it differently. Let's see. ZCM Zombie Custom Maps writes, have you seen the trailer for Slaughterhouse Rules? I have. Let me just make sure, though. I have seen the trailer. But let me just make sure I'm thinking about the right movie. Because sometimes I say, oh, yeah, I've seen it. And then I talk about it. And then I realize, oh, wait a minute. No, I'm thinking of the wrong movie altogether. Oh, no, there you go. I see. I was thinking about a totally different movie. This is the Simon Pegg thing. Nope, I haven't watched this trailer yet. See, I was just thinking of a totally different movie. This is why, even if I think I know what we're talking about, I stop and double check. So this just came out earlier today. Okay, nope, I haven't watched this yet. I believe this is the one that Simon Pegg and Nick Frost had been working on together, right? Anyway, so I have not watched it yet, so I will check it out. I'm sure I'll talk about it on the show, on the John Campea show tomorrow. All right, let's move on here. Steve Ben Obi-Wan Larry Kenobi writes, I love that name. That's really clever. Hey, John, I've been wondering how James Gunn, the human, is doing. I remember him talking very openly about his depression once, and creating the Guardians of the Galaxy gave him so much purpose. Do you think he will be okay? Let's put it this way. First of all, I think sometimes as regular human beings, we forget that when stuff like this happens, what a toll that takes on another human being. Because imagine this, we all know the horror of thinking, oh my God, something embarrassing happening. What if everybody at work finds out? We're just talking about, 30 people? What if everybody at work finds out? Oh my God, like a totally embarrassing thing about you gets dragged out, or a debate about you, or an argument about you, and whether you're an asshole or not gets dragged out in front of like everybody at work. That's a nightmare scenario for some people. Now imagine that times a million, and it's in front of the whole world. That's rough. Sometimes people deserve it. Sometimes people don't. But it's there, and it's something that's a part of the human experience. And unfortunately for people who are in the position like a James Gunn, it's going to be played out in front of the entire world, and have idiots like me debating about it and discussing it almost every day. Now, at the same time, to cushion that blow a little bit, not all of us, when something really embarrassing happens to us and everybody at work finds out, we don't get cut a $7 to $10 million check like James Gunn's about to get cut. He's about to have Disney cut him a check for anywhere between $7 to $10 million or more to not work. That, as regular and all that kind of stuff about everything that's being talked about him in public, no, but I got to imagine it softens the blow a little bit. What I also imagine would probably soften the blow a little bit is, much like you and I don't have to worry about, our names being dragged out in front of the whole world, we also wouldn't have some of the biggest movie stars in the world coming to our defense publicly. And I think that's probably softened the blow too. I think it's probably been very encouraging for somebody like a James Gunn to have a Chris Pratt, Bradley Cooper, Zoe Saldana, Dave Bautista, Michael Rooker, Kurt Russell, on and on and on, put out this big public letter saying, this guy's awesome. I'm sure it's still very, at least I am. I mean, he's very critical about the things he's critical of. He's very positive about the things he's positive of. He's just a very engaged social media guy. Since trying to decide whether I should share something, I'm going to not. But to get back to your thing, Steve, Ben, Obi-Wan, Larry Kenobi. Oh yeah, I'm sure it's very difficult. Like, and anybody who goes through stuff like this, it's very difficult. Like, I'm sure it's very difficult. So they get it harder than we do. They probably have some things to soften the blow a little bit more than we do at the same time. But it's just proportional. It's still a human experience. I hate the notion. I would hate this notion if this was happening. It would be horrible. Horrible. And I mean, it's, and I think we do lose sight for the celebrities we love or the celebrities we hate. I think we lose sight sometimes of the fact that, hey, this is what they're going through right now is pretty awful. And if we were going through it, it would be devastating and crippling and just an awful experience and I think it'd be good. This would be a good opportunity for us, for the people we hate, the people we love. This must be a really terrible thing. With some big things to help cushion the blow, yes, but terrible nonetheless. So, good observation, Steve. I appreciate you mentioning that. Santiago Villa writes, Oscars on the first weekend of February, same week as Super Bowl. Would that be the same week as the Super Bowl? That'd be kind of funny. It was the same day. Watch Super Bowl, roll that right into watching the Oscars. That would actually be, oh God, that would make, damn. Okay, first of all, I don't know if what you're saying, Santiago, is true. But oh my God, for somebody like me, that would make the best Sunday ever. Super Bowl, and then as soon as the Super Bowl's done, change channels, or maybe it's on the same channel. No, change channel because ABC doesn't have a Super Bowl. Change channels and now watch the Oscars and Super Bowl on the same day. Oh my God, I love that idea. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just kind of fantasizing. Like, that would be like the best day of the year. That would be like the best day of the year. It might, like, my favorite day of the year is always Christmas. Always Christmas. But that might rival my best day of the year if we could have Super Bowl that rolls right into the Oscars. Yeah, sign me up for that. I'd be all for it. Let's see. Razor's Edge Frisbee writes, if Matt Reeves can give us Snyder quality fight scenes along with detective-centric Batman movie, this could be a really special movie if it actually happens, LOL. I mean, sure, but any actor, any director, I say, if you can pull off this and do this, we'll have something special. Well, yes, sure. And by the way, them doing a detective-centric Batman, that doesn't mean it's going to be good. And if they don't do a detective-centric Batman, that doesn't mean it's going to be bad. It's all about execution, right? Like that's kind of the sermon I'm always preaching. It's about execution. It's about execution. It doesn't matter if you have Doctor Doom in your movie. If it's not executed well, Fantastic Four, then it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't matter that they have the detective element of Batman in the movie. If they don't execute it well, it won't mean anything. So here's hoping. So yes, but you can say this about any director doing any movie, if you can capture the best elements of this and capture the best elements of that, then we'll have something pretty special. Well, yes, but that's the trick, isn't it? It's the actually doing it. It's the actually doing it part. It's the execution part that is often the stumbling block. But is the potential there for something really special? Absolutely. Absolutely, the potential's there for something really special. So whether or not they'll actually be able to follow through on it and fulfill the promise of it, who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But the potential, Razor's Edge, is definitely there. Make no mistake about it. You're absolutely 100% right about that. It is absolutely there. Everett Lewis writes, SummerSlam is coming up. We need a tag team match with James Gunn and Batista versus Bob Iger and Alan Horn. Book it, Vince. Or maybe not even Bob Iger. Like maybe some legitimate wrestler. I don't know. Alan Horn and Triple H or something like that. I mean, if you want to try... Because the WWE has traditionally been about taking real-life drama going on and turn it into on-screen drama. They did that. Like, I remember when... what was the Hardy Boys' female manager? I want to call her Rita, but it wasn't Rita. I'm forgetting her name. But anyway, she was with Matt Hardy. I believe this was real life. And in real life, she started dating Edge. And there was some behind-the-scenes drama going on there. And the WWE actually made that in-ring drama. They made that one of the stories in their ring. So the WWE has never been above or beyond the notion of taking real-life problems and drama and actually bringing them in front of the camera and making their narrative about it. So it would be kind of fun. James Gunn and Batista versus Triple H and Alan Horn. Vince McMahon, book it. It would be awesome. I'd be all for it. All right, let's see. ZCM Zombie Custom Maps writes, should they make a Dungeons and Dragons movie like how they made Jumanji 2? What I got to admit, I don't know what you mean by that. Like, what do you mean do a Dungeons and Dragons movie like how they did a Jumanji 2? In what way? There's a million different ways we could be talking. As in, have Dwayne The Rock Johnson in it? Because they've made a Dungeons and Dragons movie and it was terrible. I understand they are going to be trying to make a new one, but I don't know what you mean by should they make a Dungeons and Dragons movie like how they made a Jumanji 2? I don't know what you mean, but like they made it. Is that what you mean? Like just make it? Yeah, sorry ZCM. I don't know what it is you're asking about that. So let's move on to your second thing. Your second thing is, so did Stone Cold mention you? I have no idea. Somebody on my show earlier today was asking me about the Stone Cold Steve Austin podcast, and he's a great podcast host. And somebody said that he's mentioned you and that he watches your show. And I just about pissed myself. Like, I almost cried. I was like, what? But I have not seen, and I've been busy all afternoon, I haven't looked, but I have never seen any indication that Stone Cold Steve Austin has ever mentioned me or mentioned that he's watched my show. I have not seen any indicator of that. Because I've got to imagine, if the guy who wrote in earlier was correct, then I would have had 100 people tweeting me saying, "Oh my God, John, did you see?" Oh my God, seriously, when Ryan Reynolds likes one of my tweets, I get tweets from 500 people saying, "John, did you see that Ryan Reynolds liked your tweet?" Like, seriously. So I think if Stone Cold Steve Austin had actually mentioned me on one of his shows, I just have a feeling if that actually happened, I would have heard about it. I would think I would have heard about it. So to that guy who mentioned that, by all means, if you have a link to something, I will cry. I will cry man tears. Please send me a link. But I just can't imagine that that's actually the case. Because again, I think I would have heard about it by now, wouldn't I? Wouldn't we? Anyway, let's see. Let's move on. Jedi Kim writes, Disney is very silent on this whole James Gunn situation. Why? Well, mostly because what is there to say? There is nothing to say that would be productive, right? What can they say? If they're in the middle of negotiating things out with James Gunn, then what is there to say right now? Do you come out and say, we stand behind this? Why? You don't need to say that. We regret it. Well, do they? We don't know that they do. So they are being very silent, but because I think they need to be. I mean, what would we expect them to come out and say at this point? Right? When there's something to say, they'll say something. As of right now, though, it doesn't really seem like there is anything to say. So the smart thing is, here's the thing. They are doing now what Alan Horn should have done before. Keep quiet. That's what Alan Horn should have done before. Instead of rushing without consulting with people, without any of that, before really pondering and looking at this, instead of just rushing out and running your mouth, which is why Disney has backed themselves into a corner now, because Alan Horn came out and ran his mouth before he should have. And now they've painted themselves into a corner. So what Disney is doing now is what Alan Horn, who I respect a great deal, but just because I respect somebody does not mean I will not call BS. I respect Alan Horn. I'm a fan of Alan Horn. I'm a big fan of Disney, but when I smell BS, I'm going to call BS. And Alan Horn should have kept his mouth shut. He should have shut up, sat on it for another week, consulted with Kevin Feige, consulted with the people who would be affected by removing James Gunn, consulted more with Bob Iger, who was on vacation at the time. Bob Iger's his boss. He should have done all of that. Instead, he decided to run out there and run his mouth. And now they've backed themselves into a corner. He made himself look stupid. He made their company look stupid. And he's backed themselves into a corner. Now, look, we all have a bad day at the office. Any of you who've watched me more than 2 episodes, you know I say stupid things. You say and do stupid things. This was Alan Horn's bad day at the office. He said, I'm Alan Horn. Fucking idiot. And I do things that make me an idiot. You do things that make you an idiot. That was his day to be an idiot. He's a brilliant man. He's super smart. He's very good at his job. But this was his bad day at the office. And so is Disney kind of quiet right now? Yes. Because they should have been quiet before. They should have been quiet, waited, talked, had exhaustive conversations, internal conversations, brought in as many people to discuss this as possible. Then, after deliberation and consideration and consultation, come out. And if they then wanted to say, you know, we've taken these things very seriously and we take how the feelings of our, fans feel and blah, blah, blah. And after careful consideration, we have decided, we've spoke with James and we've decided what would be best for us right now is to part ways with James, blah, blah, blah. Had they done that, not lied and said, oh, we never knew about these tweets. Not lied about it, not rushed to do anything, blah, blah, blah. If they had waited, consulted, deliberated, all that kind of stuff, and then come out and said, hey, we take the feelings, and many of you, our fans, have been offended by these tweets, and you feel very strongly about it. So in response to our fans and your feelings, we've spoken with James, and we love James. James is a part of our family, but he understands and we understand that we've decided to part ways here. a $10 million check to a guy who's not going to direct their movie. He's going to go on and make them look stupid by making a great movie with Warner Brothers or Universal or Paramount or whoever else, and heaven forbid it might even be a DC movie. They've got a lot of damage control now, all because they didn't stay quiet before. And Alan Horn ran his mouth. Blah, 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 blah. It's one thing when I run my mouth because the consequences of my actions are minimal because I'm a fucking nobody. But when you're Alan Horn and the chairman of Disney Studios, you've got to be smarter than that. And I think he knows that. And I think from what I understand, there's a lot of regret around Disney over how that was handled. And anyway, we'll see how it all goes. Okay. Oh my gosh, we've already gone over an hour. Okay, so Darth Wayne 97 writes, I think I have an idea on who it is you were supposed to have a co-host for Star Wars Talk. Not going to say it here, but yeah, I think I know. I'm going to bet you don't. I wouldn't bet $1 million that you don't because it's certainly possible, but I'm going to bet you don't. But go ahead. I'll tell you what. Darth Wayne, you email me, john@thejohncampeashow.com. Mention you're Darth Wayne. Say you're the guy that said, here's my guess. And I'll just tell you whether yes or no you were right. Right? I'll make that deal with you. I'll just email to you yes or no. That's all I'll do. Okay. So Alan Gonzalez writes, hey, John, hope you are having a nice day. If the Disney/Fox deal does go through, and it looks like it will, do you think Marvel will sell their characters again? You mean, do I think they'll sell them off again? Well, no. Remember, Marvel sold off a lot of the rights to their characters and all that kind of stuff because they were in a position of, they were about to go bankrupt. They were financially desperate, right? A lot of people forget that. Like, everybody forgets the history of this. And they just go, why did Marvel ever sell? Well, because they had to. They were desperate. They weren't owned by Disney yet. They were in a very bad position. I really don't see them selling their characters off again. I really don't. I think they know because like right now, hey, we may not have anything to do with Blade right now. We don't have anything to do with that character right now. We have nothing for him to do. Okay, but that doesn't mean in 5 years there might be a huge vampire trend and like, oh my God, if only we had kept Blade. You know what I mean? And I think they realize that now. They realize, keep our properties. Now, I would love it if they sold off some of their properties because you know me, I want more studios making different kinds of comic book movies. So I'm all for that. But I can understand Disney's rationale of wanting to hold on to those characters now. Once they get them back, I don't think they're ever letting them go again. So I don't expect we will ever see Disney or Marvel let the X-Men or Fantastic Four or Deadpool ever go again. I would love it if they did, but I can understand completely the idea that once you get your characters back, you hold on to those suckers. And that's what I think they'll do. I think they'll hold on to them. All right. Justin Vick writes, thanks for the content. Well, thank you so much, Justin. Thank you for the support. I am only able to make this content because my Patreon supporters and people like you, Justin, who support through Super Chat and stuff like that, make it possible. So no, sir, thank you for the support. And it's my honor to deliver the content. Thank you so much, man. Curtis Lopez writes, the fanboy in me would have really had a nerdgasm if in Infinity War, during the battle at Wakanda, Wolverine was running with Cap and Black Panther towards Thanos. Well, yeah, sure. You can say that. You know what, guys? I'm sorry about this, but I got to turn on my AC because I am just dying here. Absolutely dying here. So I got to get this turned on. Okay, there we go. I mean, you could also say, I would nerdgasm if we saw Superman fly in. Like, if after Thor came down, if Superman came flying in. I mean, yeah, sure, you can create all these wild things. I mean, it would have been groovy and everything, especially if it was a surprise. But for obvious reasons, they couldn't do that. Let's see. ZCM Zombie Custom F writes, I'd love to see Dominic Toretto and Aquaman fight underwater, and then Randy Orton ambushes them by saddling a whale. Out of nowhere! Oh my God! And what's his it's not the Stunner. That's Steve. That's what Steve Austin calls it. What does Randy Orton call his version of the Stunner? I can't remember the name. What is everybody in the just watching in the chat board here? What is the name of the Randy Orton finishing move? I cannot remember. It's the it's killing me. RKO. It's the RKO. if like out of nowhere, and you hear Jim Ross going out of nowhere, it's Randy Orton. He RKO's like Dominic Toretto and Aquaman. That's a YouTube video somebody's got to make. By the way, guys, there's this YouTube video. There's a number of YouTube videos that people make of people wiping out, but they edit in Randy Orton, giving them RKOs. They're hilarious. I can watch those videos all day. Look them up. Out of nowhere, Randy Orton RKO memes or something like that. Search that on Google or on YouTube. Some of the videos are just hilarious. It's really amazing. Let's see. Roger Green writes, "Hey John, love your show. Thank you so much, Roger. Love Becker. Was it Becker or was it Decker? I can't remember. With Ted Danson. Whenever I talk to friends, they don't know the series. Is it just Germany or wasn't it that popular in the U.S.? Cheers, Roger." You know what? I can't even remember because I thought it was Decker. Hold on a second. Let me just double check here. Ted Danson. Becker? Oh, no, it was called Becker. All right. Let's see here. Because if I'm not mistaken, I think it ran for a lot of seasons. Well, at least ran 6 seasons. So it was pretty successful. I gotta admit, I never watched it. So you can't say it didn't have any popularity because it lasted for 6 seasons. It takes a lot to last for 6 seasons. But I gotta admit, man, I never saw it. Even though I'm a Ted Danson fan, I never watched a single episode of Becker. And I'm looking up some pictures right now and... Oh, that's right. The girl who played from Deep Space Nine. I forgot that. Jaxia. The girl from Deep Space Nine was in Becker. I totally forgot about that. I don't remember anybody else who was in the show, but that was the one person. It was the last time Ted Danson was on TV where he didn't have gray hair. But yeah, it was successful, having 6 seasons. But I didn't even remember if it was called Decker or Becker, so there's that. Friendly Film Fan writes, "Score for Wonder Woman is pretty underrated. Great themes, great flow. Harry Gregerson Williams deserved more credit. Also did great with Hacksaw Ridge." I'll be honest with you. I didn't find the Wonder Woman score all that memorable. Pardon me. Other than... like the main Wonder Woman theme with the electric cello, right? Like other than that, which is very memorable, I honestly didn't find the score for Wonder Woman all that memorable. I can't think of a single piece of music in it, to be honest with you. That doesn't necessarily mean it was bad, not at all. I'm just saying I don't ever remember, like I saw Wonder Woman 4 or 5 times. And I don't ever remember walking out going, "Oh, I love the music in that." So that's just me, and maybe that goes to your point that I'm underrating it. Maybe that's true. That very well could be true, Friendly Film Fan. But yeah, I don't even think of it, to be honest. All right, next up, Curtis Lopez writes, Jean-Ralphio is Sonic. Dr. Robotnik is the worst. I mean, Jean-Ralphio, also, he was in that movie or that TV show with Don Cheadle, House of Lies. He was great in that. Oh my gosh. Yeah. "I'm going to get hit by a car purposely just so I can get them for the lawsuit money." Like Jean-Ralphio. So great on Parks and Rec. And yeah, I was pretty happy to see, because he's a great vocal talent. He even did some stuff for BB-8 in the Star Wars movies. But also, again, like I said, if you haven't seen House of Lies, it's a really good show. And he was a part of that, really good in it. So I thought that was pretty cool news, hearing that he's going to do the voice of Sonic. Let's see. Jeremy Sneed writes, "Watched Infinity War again. Special features included MCU Directors Roundtable talking about their movies and how they connected them to MCU. So fascinating." Yeah, I didn't watch that yet. But it's kind of funny because the thumbnail on the special features of all the MCU directors sitting around doing the Directors Roundtable, the thumbnail was James Gunn. And I remember, oh, no, I really got to watch this. But the thumbnail in it is James. Clearly, this was all put together before everything hit the fan, but I thought it was pretty ironic that James Gunn is the thumbnail of the MCU Directors Roundtable. So I still haven't watched that special feature yet, Jeremy, but I'm very, very interested in it. I cannot wait to watch it because I think it's going to be fascinating. All right. Eli the Creative writes, in your opinion, should James Gunn direct a low-budget DC film like Phoenix Joker, or help Todd direct Spawn or Deadpool 3? Like I kind of said earlier, the answer is none. Whatever he does, he should do. Should he do a low-budget one? Well, he's done low-budget great films before, like Super and like Slither. Should he do big budget stuff? Well, he's done big budget stuff like Guardians 1 and Guardians 2, and has had success at all of them. So I don't believe there is any should here. I don't believe there's any should. Like, should he do a low-budget DC? Should he do something like a Deadpool 3? I really don't think. I mean, should he help Todd McFarlane direct Spawn? Well, that has nothing to do with DC. Todd McFarlane shouldn't be directing Spawn. He doesn't know anything about directing, but whatever. But honestly, yeah, I really think right now there is no should. I don't think he should do a smaller budget thing. I don't think he should do a bigger budget thing. I think he should do whatever appeals to him, to be honest with you. I don't think there's any one particular path he should take here. You know, he might say, hey, look, I already put in my time doing small budget stuff with Troma, with Super, with PG porn, with Slither, I've already done all that. Like, it's now, I'm in an era where I want to be doing big budget things. I spent a lot of years doing small budget stuff. I want to do some big budget stuff. So maybe he's thinking that. Maybe he thinks, hey, you know what? The idea of the challenge of going back to my roots and doing a smaller budget thing sounds appealing. Then he should do that. But honestly, the only should here is whatever makes him happy. Whatever makes him happy, whatever he thinks is really challenging right now, that's what he should do. Other than that, I don't think there's any other shoulds. Cisse writes, John, we need a solid 1 hour Oscar rant. Also, have you seen the new Manic trailer? Very intriguing. I have not. Seriously, I could go on for 2 hours on the Oscar thing, and I'm trying to temper myself and not do that whenever it comes. Like the Oscar situation, the James Gunn situation are both that I could just go off for an hour on. But I'm trying my best not to do that. I'm trying really, really hard not to do that. And as far as the Maniac trailer, no, I haven't seen that yet. Curtis Lopez writes, speaking of Parks and Rec, I caught the ice rink episode. That's great. I caught the ice rink episode at the break room. Perfect song choice. Get on your feet. As they're all flopping all over the place. And I love it. Ron Swanson's carrying Champion, the dog. He's peeing. The dog is peeing. Everything about that scene and that episode just makes me crack up and just kills me. I love that. I'm glad you had a chance to see that. Samuel Hernandez writes, there has never been character I have hated more than Gemma from Sons of... Oh my God, yeah. God, she made my blood boil. Just finished the show. Seriously. That season finale, and we all know the one I'm talking about, in the kitchen. If you haven't seen Sons of Anarchy, you won't know what I'm talking about. But that season finale in the kitchen, when that goes down, like, I can't remember. I honestly don't know if that stunned me more or if the Red Wedding stunned me more in Game of Thrones. I honestly don't know which one stunned me more. But I remember watching going, no, like, and just like being beside myself. But collectively across the nation, people go, oh, Gemma gotta die. Like, Gemma's gotta die. Like, there's no getting out of this. Gemma's gotta die. Oh my God, that was so crazy. And yeah, like, we all hated Gemma an awful lot at that point. The Friendly Film Fan writes, watched Rise of the Planet of the Apes again, and I think because of how great the next two films are, it gets lost in just how damn good it is itself. I'll tell you what, I think Rise is better than War for the Planet of the Apes. I think War for the Planet of the Apes is the worst one. I do. And it's good. I like War for the Planet of the Apes. It's good. I'm not saying it's bad. But out of the three, I think it's the least good out of the three, to be honest with you. I think Rise is underappreciated for just how good it was. If it wasn't for that first one, there wouldn't have been a second and a third one. So I'm completely on board with you, Friendly Film Fan. I really am. All right, just trying to rush through these next couple ones here, guys, because I'm gone way over time. And you know what? Sorry, there was another jump. There's another jump, so I'm not going to be able to finish. So you know what, guys? I'm just going to have to wrap it up. Everybody from NJA down, Don't worry, I will take those questions. They will be addressed on the companion videos coming on the weekend. Every question that got sent in will get addressed, so do not worry about it. Your question will be answered in a video. Probably not tomorrow, but probably on Saturday and Sunday. I'm going to do a whole bunch of companion videos because I'm starting to fall behind here. But they will be answered on there because I'm already gone like almost 20 minutes over time. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for joining me for this installment of Open Mic. This was a lot of fun. Sorry if I started ranting on a little bit too long on certain topics. But you know that's me. And guys, thank you so much for being here. Don't forget the John Campea Show is back again tomorrow morning. I almost said 8:30 again, but no, we've moved it to 9 a.m. is when the John Campea Show is back. Don't forget to join me then, and I will probably put up my review for Meg either late tonight or early tomorrow morning. One of the two. Keep your eyes open for that. I'll have my review for the Meg up. All right, guys, thanks a lot for joining me. My name's John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.